We're less than 3 weeks away from the Iowa caucuses, so how are battleground state voters feeling ahead of the 2024 race? Joining us now are three business owners: Iowa voter Penny Carroll, Georgia voter John German, and Arizona voter Jorge Rivas. Great to have you all with us. Thank you so much. Jorge, I'm going to start with you and the great state of Arizona. We take a look in 2020 and we can see Joe Biden won Arizona by a very small margin, 49.4% to Trump's 49.1%. He won Georgia by a small margin. Trump was able to pull it out in Iowa. As we go into 2024, we're thinking about the big issues. These are very, very close races, and they probably will be very close again if we've got the same two candidates on the ticket. So what are the things that are driving you to the polls, the issues that you care about right now, and how the candidates that are out there stack up on them?
As a business owner, I really care what's happening, because right after Joe Biden took office, everything doubled in price. After he shut down the oil production, price of gasoline went up. And we know that once the gasoline goes up, everything goes up. And our prices have doubled. Some items have tripled. So for a small restaurant like ours, which is what they call a mom and pop restaurant, for us it's very difficult because our bottom line is being pushed down, and we cannot afford to keep like this. And for Americans that really care about this country, they need to realize that Joe Biden, not only in 2020, his mental decline was already bad. I mean, by now, 3 years later, 4 years later, the poor guy can barely walk. Yeah. I mean, how dare you, people out there who call themselves American, are really, trying to think or thinking of voting for someone who cannot even, walk, let alone think, let alone lead the greatest country in this world. Come on, people, let's be real. Yep. Let's care for our kids, for our future.
Yep. Good point, Jorge.
So I'm very looking forward to voting for someone who really loved and has the capacity to lead this nation and keep it as great as it has been for so many years.
Yep. Great points, Jorge, and sorry to get in your way on that. Penny, I want to go to you. You're in Des Moines, Iowa. I was there just a couple months ago talking to voters, and I was actually surprised to hear how much the border was on their minds. I know that's a big issue for you as well, Penny. Talk about why that's motivating you in this election cycle.
It's huge. Why not let Donald Trump come back in, finish the job that he was going to do, and protect our borders? I would say that probably the majority of us lock our doors at night before we go to bed. Why are we locking our borders? We're hearing reports of all these busloads of people coming into Washington, D.C., into Chicago. And it is affecting our business. In some ways, it's affecting it in a good way, because people from California, from Minnesota, are coming to the Midwest to live because it's safe. But yeah, borders is number one for me.
All right, Penny, thank you so much. I want to bring it over to John, who's from Georgia. John, we have all three of you are business owners, we know, and you represent the majority of business, which is small business owners. So the economy, border security, all important. When you look at the candidates for you, John, who is the pull away for you? And if it is Donald Trump, which I think it is there anyone else that's grabbing your attention at this point?
Quite frankly, I'm a Trump supporter. I'm not afraid to admit it, like a lot of other people are. I like what he has to offer. I really enjoy what he did in his last term in office, as far as getting gas prices down. Inflation was manageable, and as soon as Biden and the Democrats came into power, they really kind of went out of their way just to really ruin a whole lot of good things for the American people. Not for the benefit of anybody, maybe for maybe their donors or people like that. Normal everyday working Americans, kind of like me, we're having to suffer through absurdly high gas prices, absurdly high inflation rates, constantly having to battle high prices for everything with no end in sight. There's no plan. Biden and his cohorts and the Democrat Party in general, if I can go ahead and say that, they don't really care about people like me and people like Jorge, who work hard for their families. We're a mom and pop shop as well. It's just my wife and I who own and operate this business. We built it from the ground up. And, it's just ridiculous how we're just looked over, basically. Hey, they're having to pay, $300 a week in gas just so I can pull my food trailer here, there, and everywhere. Well, that's not taken into consideration, the price of my raw materials. The price of food has gone up. I don't have to tell anybody that. But when's the last time Biden or any of his pals went out to the grocery store, bought food for themselves and their family, and been like, man, this is really high?
It's a good question, because when meat prices were rising, he couldn't tell you what a pound of ground beef cost at the grocery store. And you make a great point. And that's because he doesn't go to the grocery store, and Hunter doesn't have to worry about the price of ground beef.